Hi everyone, and welcome to my Q&A session for how to cope with your breakup during isolation. Now, thank you to all of you who have sent in questions today. What I wanted to focus on, because I know so many of you are struggling right now with your breakup, is to really have a think about what the main issues you're coping with now in breakup really are. Breakups are tough enough to cope with during any time, at the best of times. So now when we put in isolation, COVID-19, being separated from loved ones, dealing with the increased anxiety that comes with isolation and not being able to connect with people, worrying about your loved ones, all that adds another layer of anxiety and stress on top of us. Okay, so that is why so many people are reaching out right now to say they're having problems with breakup. Now, you may have seen that I'm running a live webinar tonight at 7 p.m. You can register the link in my bio on Instagram. You can register the link on YouTube, on Facebook. Do register your place, because actually the seats are nearly gone because it's a maximum of 100 people and I've got over 80 people registered already. So if you do want to join in, please do click the link and register your place. But what it's going to give you is the ability tonight at 7 p.m. to get your questions answered live by me as well. So you can pop your questions into the webinar or email them to me in advance or DM them to me, and I will answer them during that session. But in this call, what I really wanted to focus on, because of the emails that I've been sent through, one of the things that's really challenging during isolation is that we are left alone with our thoughts, and those thoughts can be very, very scary. Because usually what we would do is distract ourselves from those thoughts, because we've got a routine and we'd be getting up and going somewhere, and maybe whilst we were having a shower or getting dressed, our mind might wander to those scary things. But actually now we've got nowhere to go. So we're stuck with those thoughts in our head. And that can be a real challenge for people, getting stuck in that negative cycle and not being able to move forward and get out. So what I wanted to talk to you today is about how you can manage those negative emotions that are really keeping you occupied at the moment, because we need to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. So I'll say that again because it's kind of weird. We need to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And the challenge we've got is that we're used to not allowing ourselves to be uncomfortable, right? So what are the things that you guys do to distract yourself from those negative thoughts? Well, I know from some of these emails that I've got in, that basically some of you are drinking more than you normally would. Now, I think this is quite common across the board at the moment, because there is boredom and we're trying to distract ourselves and we're stuck with those negative thoughts. But, a glass of wine, every evening isn't going to be cause too many problems for most of us. But, a bottle of wine, if you're increasing the amount that you're drinking at night, please just try and calibrate that and try and take some control over it, because that is not going to help you if you're drinking huge amounts or a lot more than you're used to drinking. Okay, so what is it you're doing to distract yourself? I know some people are going for long walks, which helps. I know some people are exercising, some people are FaceTiming people or reading books and things like that. I know a couple of you are reading my books, which is great. It's a great time to kind of work on yourself during this period. But what I would say is we need to get comfortable with actually facing those negative emotions head on, because as human beings, what we're trained to do, our natural instinct is to run away from negative emotions. So to distance ourselves, to not think about them, which is kind of crazy really, isn't it? Because they don't dissipate if you run away from them. It's almost like the bully in the playground. It will control you. Those negative emotions will control you until you stand up and face them and confront them. So what am I saying? Well, I'm saying you need to stand up to them and be able to dip your toe in and out of those negative emotions so that you control when you go there and don't. Because we've all done it, right? We've all sort of worried about a situation and then it's actually happened. And what we found out is that when it actually happens, it's not as bad as we had anticipated. All the worry, all the fear about it, when it actually happens, it may still be not very nice, but we get through it and come out the other side. So the interesting thing is, how do you take that experience of surviving tough situations and use it to your advantage when you're on your own at home or in your isolation with your family and friends, whoever's in the home with you, but you're left alone with these thoughts, which normally we would be able to distract ourselves in a healthy way away from. So what I'm suggesting is that, first of all, we have somewhere to distract ourselves, because if you're going to face these negative emotions and actually sort of jump in and say, okay, I'm going to face this. So, for example, I've got an email here from somebody who says that they are consumed with anxiety. So, her biggest controlling negative emotion is anxiety. Now, again, what I would ask you to, all of you that are suffering from negative emotions and finding it hard to cope with, is instead of clumping all those negative emotions together, break them down. Okay, so break them down into what specific emotions are controlling you the most. So this lady here is anxiety. For some of you, it might be sadness. For some of you, it might be jealousy, rage. I don't know, whatever it is specific to you. And this is important because it's a lot easier to work through negative emotions when you specifically identify which emotion it is. And for those of you with children, this is a great exercise to do with kids. So what I would suggest is that you think about what if your child is going through some difficulty, and it doesn't obviously need to be do with your breakup. These are transferable life skills. For example, if a child at the moment is going through like finding it difficult to cope with the quarantine situation, then there are books about emotions for kids that you can find on Amazon. If you just type in emotions for kids books, and they're different ones for different age ranges. But if you find one that they have like different pictures, so smiley faces, sad faces, angry faces, with labeled with each emotion, really useful to be able to get a grip on dialing down, which is something I talk about a lot, dialing down the control of these negative emotions over you. You can specifically identify what the negative emotion is. So if you all have a think now about what is the emotion that's controlling you the most now? What is the emotion that you would most like to dial down right now? What would that be? If you could pick one, what would it be? So this lady, it's anxiety. Now, what I would want her to do is to, first of all, before we start getting into the negative emotion, is to write a list of everything that you're grateful for right now. Okay, so a gratitude list, if you want. Now, the reason we're doing that is to give you a safety net so that you can shift your focus quite easily onto that positive list. And I know we've talked about writing down the things you're grateful for, and I know a lot of you struggle with that because you don't feel particularly grateful right now for much. But actually what I'm seeing around me is that a lot of people are becoming more grateful for the small things. I don't know if any of you saw on the news yesterday, there was a guy that actually has recovered from coronavirus and he was really on the brink in ICU on the ventilator. And he's now grateful for every small thing, like the daffodils, the blossom on the trees, the sun on his skin. I mean, tiny things that he would have not even noticed. And he said he's never going to take anything for granted ever again. So I would like you to create a gratitude list of things that you are grateful for. What you do is imagine in your mind. So first of all, create a safe, quiet space for you to do this. Sit somewhere quiet and set a timer, maybe on your phone, just for like 30 seconds. Okay, to start with, just start with 30 seconds. But make sure you've got a timer so that you don't get carried away in this. I don't want you to get stuck here. But what I want you to do is to jump into that negative emotion and just experience that anxiety face on. Instead of running away from it, stuffing it down, drinking or exercising to not ever have to feel that, I just want you to allow yourself permission to face that bully in the playground almost, eyeball to eyeball. So what does it feel like to feel anxious in this lady's case, or whatever that controlling emotion is for you? What does it feel like? What does it sound like? Where do you feel that in your body? What does it look like? Does it have a color or a feeling? Where does it manifest in your body most? Is it in your throat? Is it in your stomach? Do you feel anything? Do you feel sick? Does your mouth go dry? I want you to really jump in and kind of delve around in it and explore it and say, okay, you're controlling me right now. I want to see exactly what you are. I want to lift up things and have a look around in here just to see what this really is. Because I'm running away from this all my life. I'm just not wanting to face it. But actually, worst case scenario, what does it feel like? Because what this does then, when the buzzer goes off and your alarm's off and you can come back out, pick up your gratitude list and shift your focus immediately onto the positive things that you're grateful for in your life. Because that will then get you out of that negative state, okay? And it's important that you only do as much as you feel comfortable with. If it's 10 seconds, fine. If it's 15 seconds, fine. If it's 2 seconds, okay, you can build on that, okay? I just want you to start, because what you'll find is that this is giving you the ability to have the remote control to your brain. So you can face those negative emotions after you've identified them specifically. And once you've jumped in and kind of explored about what it sounds like, what it feels like, how it makes you feel and think, then you start to take your control back over it. So you see how it shifts the dynamic, shifts the balance of who's in control here. Is it that grey cloud that's chasing you around, or are you there going, yeah, okay, I know what's going on here. If I jump into it, it's not great, I don't feel great, but at least I own it and I choose. And by having that shift in control and putting the control firmly back with you, it means that it just dissipates and dials down those negative emotions just that little bit, which is really, really important. And then having your gratitude list to focus on that is good, because it will pull you out. It's almost like your parachute to deploy when you get into those difficult situations. So that is absolutely important as well to have. So if you've got any questions, for those of you that are joining me live here, either on YouTube or on Instagram, do drop them below. If there's anything that you want to comment on or talk about, please do, because this is your chance to get your questions answered. And I know I'm doing a live webinar tonight, and I know some of you have registered for that. I can see names popping up, and I know some of you are. I know some of my coaches have got Eve, and I think I saw Hayley somewhere. So hi guys. So I know a lot of you right now, and I've actually had quite a few people in the last couple of days sign up to train to become breakup divorce coaches, because they want to do something with their time to use this negative experience to move forward. And actually, no matter what you do with your breakup, I would suggest that you use this time to learn who you are. And I know yesterday we talked a little bit about discovering your identity again as a single person. And I know I've had some photographs of things that people have now said they're going to do and change and start learning. So whatever it is for you, how are you going to look back on this time? How are you going to take something positive from this and move forward? I think it's really important that we all take time to realize that we can't control what's going on around us. And if we can't control COVID-19, I mean, obviously we can take precautions and follow the advice and stay at home and all those things, but ultimately we have no individual control on when this is over, when this is stopped, what life will look like afterwards, and ultimately the impact it's going to have on all of us. So there is no point worrying and spending energy worrying on that. What we need to do is channel that energy into a way that is constructive, where we go on a bit of a self awareness journey as to what makes us tick, you know, what is important in life. And having a detox right now of your life is important. And what I mean by life detox is to think about all the things you want more of in your life, and then also all the things you want less of. So taking the things you want more of, who are those people you want to spend more time with? Who are those people that you really think, gosh, I wish I'd reached out to them more often, or I wish I could chat more to those people? And make a list of that. And make a list of the things that you want to do more of, because this is important. This is redesigning your life for post-COVID. Okay, post-coronavirus, what is life going to look like? Well, now's your chance to take some control over it without the daily distractions. But also, if not more important, what do you want less of? What have you found yourself doing because you felt compelled to do it, because you'd always done it? I think right now, so many people are realizing that there's things they do in their life and their daily routine that really don't serve them, or they thought were important, but now they're having to live without them because it's been forced on them. They realize actually it's not that important after all. Now, this could be small things like getting your nails done. I mean, there's someone in here who has written to me to say that she was like compelled to get her nails done every week, and she'd give up time from work and go and do it, and time with her kids to go and get her nails done. She's got quite complicated nails by the looks of things, so it takes a bit of time to work through that. It was a good 2 hours out of her week that she would do it, and actually she's taken them all off now, and she's thinking, at first she was like, oh, this is awful, but now she's like, actually I quite like it, I can live without it. So I mean, that's just a tiny example of things that we become dependent on, but maybe there's other things that we've done that we think were important that aren't, or things that we thought we couldn't do. So I've got somebody else here who said that she never thought she could exercise in the home, so she always used to go to a gym. Obviously no one's going to gyms anymore, so she's actually exercising at home and finding that is so rewarding. She's actually getting better results. And of course, the first couple of times she did it, she was a bit like, oh, this isn't as fun, like there's no big machinery, and what about that big machine I use? And she used to go on a cross trainer, she doesn't have that at home. But what she's finding is she's having a lot more fun, she's doing things differently. Yes, if she could intersperse that with the gym, perfect when life gets back to normal, but actually she's going to keep it or be able to do it. You know, there's a lady here, I can't remember who it was now. I'm sure she mentions that she goes jogging now, she's never been a jogger, but actually that's what she started doing, and she's really enjoying the benefit and seeing the physical benefit as well. So, it's interesting to see that in these situations, we are all adapting. You are adapting to really tough times right now and finding new ways within yourself to cope. And this is what happens after a breakup, where you set up, you work better as a team, so you sort of compromise, and sort of sometimes the edges get blurred a little bit as you become almost like one person unit operating. So obviously we're separating that, but the same skills you're using now to adapt to COVID-19 are exactly the life skills that you need to be using to adapt to being single after a breakup. There's very little difference if you think about it. We're having to do things on our own. We're in isolation. We're having to process thoughts on our own. We're having to do different jobs. We're having to adapt to a new way of life, which we're not used to, with less people in it, with less connection, with definitely less hugs and that physical connection for sure. So these are the skills. What I'm saying is you're managing to cope with COVID, okay? You're coping with the virus. We're all adapting together. So you can do this with your breakup. Now, it's interesting to see which techniques and what you're doing with adapting with this new lifestyle for Corona. So what is it that you're specifically doing right now? Please jot some questions down for me, or ask me anything whilst I'm here to answer those questions, because it's useful right now. If you could, if you want to ask questions, I can answer them for you. But what are you specifically doing right now that's helping you manage the virus, and how can you use the same sort of techniques in your breakup? Because you have your own strategies of being successful that's specific to you, which is why one-to-one coaching is so effective with a divorce coach, because what we do is we delve into what's working for you and show you and highlight those techniques, and then show you how you can use in your breakup. So for example, you might have my book The Split, and it's packed full of 30 days of different exercises and techniques you can do. But actually, some of those will resonate a lot more with some people than others, because of personality and motivation and situation and lifestyle and just who you are and your personality. So it's important to look at what works for you. What do you do naturally? What do you do naturally, and what do you do that you sort of fall into to help you cope? So for example, a lady that goes jogging, she started doing that. What are you doing? Maybe you're learning to cook more adventurous foods. Maybe you're learning to cook food from what you've got in the fridge rather than going out and getting something new. Or maybe you're not relying on deliveries anymore, and then you're having to create something else. Where are you adapting, and how can you use those skills and apply them to what you're going through in your breakup? Because we're adapting and transitioning from a breakup to single life. That is not such a different transition, because there's anxiety, there's worry, there's fear of the unknown, fear of the future, who knows what lies ahead. When will you stop feeling the pain? Now, I know that's another question that I've got here, is when does the pain go away? Well, that is a really good question, and one that I get asked almost every single day. And the answer is it's up to you. Because there are things you can do to speed up the healing process. Absolutely, there are. And obviously, I've got 2 books written on those things. That there are definitely things you can do to speed up the process, but it has to come from you. You have to decide to do things differently. Now, where we are with the virus, we're forced into that situation, right? We're forced into doing things different. So you can't go out. You can't go out and do 5 runs to the shops, or sort of pop into have a mosey on down the high street and see what's going on, and go at your own leisure. We can't do that. So we're having to plan ahead, think about what we need, go only out once. And a lot of people are only going out once a week, just to try and limit the amount of times they go into the supermarket. So all this is, we're adapting what we're doing. But when we go through a breakup, it's the same. Maybe that's been forced upon you too. Maybe your partner left you, so you've had to be forced into adapting to a new way of life, a new rhythm, waking up on your own, going out on your own, doing things on your own, becoming more self-reliant. And self-reliant is something I talk about a lot in my videos online, in my books, because it's so super important, guys. And almost the situation we're in now is forcing you to, or all of us, to become more self-reliant. And what I mean by self-reliant is that instead of running to other people first as your first point of call and asking them to help, or what do they think about the situation, or how would they solve this challenge or problem that you're facing, the idea with self-reliance is that you ask yourself first. Okay? You ask yourself first. Now, you'll know the people in your world that you know who are super self-reliant. So they walk into a room and they kind of light it up. That they're always going to be able to cope, and they're the kind of person that everybody goes to for advice and help. So those people are self-reliant. They can ask themselves the questions and solve problems on their own. It may well be that they then ask other people, which is what I'm suggesting to you. Ask yourself the question first to start building that muscle back up of not being totally dependent on other people around you. Because once you start to ask yourself, you go, oh, okay, well, maybe I'll try this. And then you can pick the phone up and ask your mum or your friend or whatever. You're sort of sense checking it then. And quite often you'll be surprised that they'll come up with exactly the same answer as you. And you go, oh, okay, well, I knew that. That's what I would have said. So you can see how that sort of shifts and gives you a boost to your confidence and self-esteem as you build your self-reliance muscle, which is really important. As it is right now, coping with coronavirus. I know some of you are single parents, and I've had an email here from a single parent who is finding it really hard because now she's the cook, the cleaner, the teacher, the entertainer, and as well as the mum and the dad and everything else. And she's saying it's just overwhelming. Well, yeah, it is a lot to take on. But ultimately, this is a great time now to build these skills in these areas. And we've got to chunk it down and actually make sure what we think we can cope with. Because there's no point stacking so much on that in a week's time you're completely floored by it. So you've got to work out what you can manage and chunk it down. As a single parent, you're going to have to be resourceful because you'll be looking after other people first. But don't allow that to drain you so that you have nothing left to give, because your kids need you to be strong, right? They need you. They're reliant on you. So ultimately, we have to look after ourselves, and that's not selfish, okay? That is just preservation, because you need to be strong to help your kids. So that's kind of how it works, okay? There's a cycle there of looking after you. That's not selfish. I know a lot of you guys that follow me are highly empathetic and do a lot for other people, and so therefore find it uncomfortable to do things for yourself. Now, that's normal. I'm not saying when you're a single parent in isolation with your kids, you really do have to put yourself first so that you can get through. There's no point doing all the washing or the cleaning or the ironing, all the cooking, all the entertaining, all the schoolwork, and then all the disciplining and organising the structure and timetables and who's on what Xbox or TV till what time and who's playing what game with who. You know, if you're doing all of that, you're going to be burnt out. So it's about chunking it down and trying your best just to do as much as you can and not beating yourself up if it isn't perfect. Like if the house isn't clean all the time, it's okay. If the bed sheets haven't been washed as often as you would normally, that's okay. You know, it's sort of like three different kids with three different preferences. I know someone's doing that at the moment. That's okay. Everyone's going to have to chip in, and the kids are going to have to learn this is a time in life where we all have to muck in together, and what are they going to contribute? You know, how are they going to do it? Look at what the NHS staff are doing for us. Look at what all these amazing people are doing, and the frontline key workers helping us right now, the delivery guys for Amazon, those people who are keeping us all going. So, you know, explain that. You know, what's your part in this teamwork? Because you're going to look back, you know, when your grandparents, your grandkids are going to say, hey, what did you do, grandma, grandpa, during this time? Were you alive? How did that work? You know, just like sometimes kids say to us as adults, were there cars when you were a kid? You know, they're going to come out with these questions. So what are your kids going to say? You know, what part do they play? So it's about getting everyone involved as a single parent and not taking all that extra responsibility onto you. Obviously, shielding them from as much of the scary stuff as possible, like the news. You've got to limit. You can't just have that playing in one room all day long, because that is going to put fear into children's minds, because they can't rationalize it with life experience like we can, and it's hard enough for us anyway. So how do you sort of plug that fear and anxiety, distract, but also give each other time to be, you know, to relax and for you to get some you time? So working out ways to build that in. I know that's hard when the kids are super small. Obviously, if they're napping, you've got to use that time. Don't use it to clean. Nap, relax, watch a box set, do something for you. Okay, because keeping strong as a single parent right now is really, really important. Okay, and having a backup plan as well. So what happens? Again, it's not about thinking, I'm not going to get ill, I'm not going to get ill, I'm not going to think about it. What happens if you get ill? Where are the kids going? What's the plan for that? You know, don't stick your head in the sand, because all that does is build up that tension. Oh, thanks, Laura. It says, thanks, Sarah. It sounds encouraging to me as a single parent. Yeah. And, you know, go to that place, face that bully in the playground we were talking about earlier, about those things that scare us the most. Okay, let's face it head on. If something did happen and you needed to go into hospital, who would look after the kids? Have an emergency plan, because just having that means that you faced it, you solutionized it, you become self-reliant, building those self-reliance muscles. and you've got a plan in place. Okay, worst case scenario. So it's just something else off your plate that you don't need to carry around as a, in the back of my mind, oh God, that would be dreadful, I don't know what I do. Solve it, fix it, take responsibility for it, and then you know how to move forward. So I know a lot of you out there are doing the very best you can, but do take time out. I think at a certain time of night when the kids have gone to bed and you've got some you time. I know some of you got older kids and they're up later than you. I know they've got teenagers here who's going to bed. A 13-year-old is going to bed at like 12:30, 1 o'clock because they're left to their own devices. You know, this is a different time in their lives, okay? And as a parent, you've got to decide what comes first. You know, kids are going to be juggling so much. I had someone, a dad that messaged me yesterday to ask me how was I managing to do all these webinars and things like this when there was so much homeschooling to do. And I said, well, my son's actually on Easter holiday and the school are recommending that you actually give them a break during that time. And there are some basics, obviously, that we're still doing, but the general, you know, that it is holiday time. And he wrote back going, oh my goodness, I didn't even realize it was Easter holiday. I've checked and my kids broke up last Friday and I've still been doing homework with them every day. I'm just, with this whole thing going on, I've just lost track completely of time. So, I mean, everyone's coping in different ways. But the thing is just the kids need their time to process this as well, because they're going to have anxiety no matter how much factual news and statistics they are faced with or they understand. They know this is different. So they're getting used to those shifts too. So their anxiety is going to be a bit higher. So giving them a little bit of leeway to play and to just single parent, and I know that's like epic fail for most of us, but during times like this, the best thing you can do is stay strong, you know, prepare for worst case scenario and then live in the moment and make the most of it. Okay, and use some of these exercises on the kids, like what are you noticing more of, you know, what's good about this right now, reframing it for them by shifting their focus from, oh, I can't see my friends, how long is this going to go on for, to, well, what is good about this? What's great now about, you know, the routine that we've got now? What can we do that differently now that you would like? What don't you want to go back to doing now that you're used to this way of life? So you see how you can take control and lead it. And as their role model, you will drive a lot of this for them and they will take their beliefs from you. So if you're panicking and nervous and uptight, they're going to pick up on that, especially confined in four walls. So we've got to try and let go of the stress and the anxiety and trying to be that perfect parent all the time. And just be real, be loving, be caring, be kind. The most important things right now, so that you can keep your little unit together, so that you come out the other side stronger and having learned a lot about what's important in life. So that detoxing your life and just starting to think about things as you go through is a really important learning. And I think so many of us will come out of this period of time with a fresh look at life, hopefully more caring, more giving. I know that my charity, the Dash charity that I'm patron of, which is doing amazing work to stop domestic abuse for people, they've gone into overdrive. The amount of requests have doubled, and obviously the funding is really restricted and people are having to do things from home. So yeah, it's really giving people a new focus about what's important in life. And there's so many people doing great jobs out there that we have to be extremely grateful for them going out and fighting this virus for us, so that we can you know, work on ourselves and our family and keep things together as well by doing our part, by staying at home too. So I hope that's helped. I hope some of you will be able to join me tonight at 7 p.m. for my live webinar. Do register now. The link is in my bio and it's in my YouTube feed as well. So because there are only limited seats and it's getting close to being full. But I would love you to be there. And if you've got any specific questions, maybe something from today that's come up, maybe something that you're worried about, maybe something you're not sure about how to manage, then do email them to me, Marina, actually it's to my PA, marina@saradavison.com, or drop them in the DM on Instagram or message me on YouTube. I hope that's really helped, guys. Stay safe, and hopefully see you tonight. Bye-bye.